How's it going, guys? Thanks for checking the video out. I want to share with you 10 things that have always stood me in good stead and always kind of helped me to get back into that mixing mindset. 10 things that are easy to forget when you're mixing, but 10 things that should be the core of what you're aiming for. Here they are. First of all is to start with cleanup. There's nothing that's going to take you out of the creative process of mixing more than having to go and de-ess a vocal or deplosive or get rid of some noise. It's really important that when you're mixing, you're mixing. When you're cleaning stuff up, you're cleaning stuff up. That's not to say it's not a two-way street, but if you don't get rid of this stuff in the first place, it's just going to take you out of that frame of mind, take you out of the creative process, and just stop you from making good decisions. Secondly, you need to stay organized. There's nothing worse than having a load of audio tracks called audio 01 FQPT, whatever it is. You need to make sure that everything's labeled appropriately and that everything is color coded to your specification. I like to have drums red. You might not do. Make it work for you. Whenever I'm starting to mix, I'm always going to normalize gains. Now, gain staging is a completely different thing, which a lot of people speak about. I'm not going to speak about it. But I like to have everything at a specific level, kind of leveled out, so that I'm not squinting to see where there's actually a piece of audio in that waveform. It's going to make it so much easier to actually navigate your session so you can see what's what, where it is, and just make your life easier. If you create a load of effect sends at the beginning of the session, you'd be surprised how much time that actually saves. Create one that's a short delay, long, medium and short reverbs, and maybe some wild effects just for the fun of it. Parallel processing, you know, the kind of thing. Just have them in your session, maybe load them up in a template and have them there from the beginning. Just shove stuff into them, send a vocal into it, send a drum into it. You're going to be amazed by how much time you actually get back just by automatically having them in your session, and it's kind of creative. Sometimes if you just have a real distortion bus, just shove stuff into it for certain sections. You may not think of it if it's not there in the first place. Create a load of buses, it's going to open up your eyes and ears. If you've got any one track that has more than maybe 5 plugins on it, 9 times out of 10, I think you've maybe lost sight of what's going on. Best thing you can do, bypass all those plugins and reassess what you're actually trying to do to this track. If you're trying to brighten it up, maybe one EQ is enough. If you've got 6 instances of an EQ interspersed with loads of compressors, you're probably doing more bad than good. Don't lose sight of what's actually going on. Turn them all off, reassess what you actually need to do to this track, and then make positive, informed decisions. Just talking of not using too many plugins, here's a way you should use more plugins. If you've got 2 compressors on a vocal, it's largely going to sound more natural than just having one. Having one compressor acting really aggressively is going to be unnatural. If you've got 2 with different settings, one fast and one slow, they're going to deal with the audio in different ways, and you're going to end up with something that just sounds more natural. Talking of stuff sounding natural, EQ cuts are going to be more natural than boosts. I'm not saying you shouldn't boost, you should do whatever sounds good, but typically if you're getting rid of a load of low end, it's going to be a very similar thing to boosting some high end. And you should really just get rid of what you don't need before you start adding stuff that you think you need. You can remain objective on overheads, for example. Try just getting rid of some of that low end before you start adding the high end. Getting rid of low end and turning it up is a very similar process to adding high end, but you're not going to get all the aggression that you maybe get from increasing the high end on something. It's just going to sound more natural. Reference tracks, massive one here. Use reference tracks, but don't just use them and listen to them and then go back to your track. Use them for frequency specific things. There's certain plugins out there that allow you to just zone in on certain frequency areas. Just take a look at the dynamic content of a reference track in relation to your track. Use these, learn to love them. They're going to tell you everything you need to know about what's missing in your mix. Saturation is your friend, but not always. Sometimes an oversaturated mix can just sound nasty. And typically if we've got something that's really dynamic, like a vocal, then the loud sections are going to get compressed by that saturation in a dirty kind of way. You're best off putting the saturation plugin device after a compressor, because that way you're going to be leveling it out and you're not getting loads and loads of distortion on the loud parts and barely any on the quiet parts. Make stuff leveled before it goes into it. Saturation devices are not linear, they'll break up more if you feed more into them. Finally, stop mixing with your eyes. A great tip that I learned a few years ago is that you can be in the same seat, the same set of speakers, but what you're listening to can change depending on what you can see. A great thing to do is, once you get your mix to a good spot, export it out and just listen to it on your computer. Same seat, same set of speakers. Just because you don't have the waveforms in front of you, it means you're actually taking notice of different things. You're actually listening to it, and active listening is better than passive listening with active eyes. It'll help you remain objective. It'll help you actually hear what's going on. If you've got any tips that you think I need to know about, please leave them in the comments. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I'll see you again soon. Take care.